Okay, let's just start with a number. $11.6 trillion. It's a number so huge it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around. But get this, that isn't a government's budget or some country's national debt. Nope, that's the amount of money managed by a single company.
To give you some perspective, that's more than the entire economy of every single country on Earth, except for two, the United States and China. Now, a pool of money that massive gives the person who controls it an unbelievable amount of influence over, well, everything. Global markets, the companies that shape our lives, you name it. So it really begs the question, who is the man behind all of it?
Well, his name is Larry Fink. He's the chairman and CEO of BlackRock. And his story, it isn't some straight line to the top. It's actually a story about a catastrophic failure, one that completely changed how we saw the world and in turn reshaped the entire world of finance.
First off, what exactly is BlackRock? Well, to put it simply, they're the world's largest asset manager. Now, they don't own this money themselves. What they do is invest it for other people. We're talking huge pension funds, university endowments, and even just everyday people saving for retirement. And because they do that, they become the biggest shareholder in thousands of companies, which, as you can imagine, gives them immense power.
But to really understand Larry Fink's empire, you have to go back to the beginning. And it doesn't start with a big win. It starts with a spectacular failure. So picture this, it's the 1980s. A young Larry Fink is this brilliant bond trader at the investment bank First Boston. He was one of the first guys to really get into the new, super complex market for mortgage-backed securities. And he was amazing at it. We're talking an estimated $1 billion for his firm. He was a genuine Wall Street star. And then, it all came crashing down. In the spring of 1986, Fink made a huge bet. He was convinced interest rates were going to rise. He was dead wrong. In a single quarter, his department lost $100 million. I mean, that was a staggering amount of money back then.
And Fink himself, he's brutally honest about what happened next. He was basically a pariah. People literally stopped talking to him in the hallways. The whole experience was just professionally devastating. But, and this is the key, it would end up being the single most important moment of his entire career.
You see, that $100 million loss, that wasn't the end of his story. It was the seed of an entirely new idea that would go on to reshape the financial world as we know it.
Just listen to how Fink put it later. He said that failure became the fertilizer for BlackRock. The big lesson he took away wasn't that taking risks was a bad thing. No, it was that he had taken a massive risk without truly understanding it. He just didn't have the right tools to see the danger he was walking into. And that became the founding principle of the company he co-founded in 1988. BlackRock was going to be different. It wasn't just about making big bets to make money. It was going to be built from the ground up on an obsessive, super sophisticated understanding and management of financial risk for its clients.
And boy, did that focus on risk pay off. After starting the firm in '88, it grew and grew, going public in 1999 with $165 billion. But the real game changer was 2009. Right in the middle of a global financial crisis, a crisis, by the way, that was caused by the very securities Fink had helped create, BlackRock swooped in and acquired Barclays Global Investors. Just like that, they became the largest asset manager on the entire planet.
Now, with all this power, Fink started to do something pretty unusual. He started using his platform, especially his super influential annual letter to CEOs, to push for a whole new way of thinking about how companies should run.
He became the big champion for an idea called stakeholder capitalism. And he insists, look, this isn't politics, it's not some woke agenda. He argues it's simply smart business. The basic idea is that for a company to really succeed long-term, it can't just serve its shareholders, it also has to serve its employees, its customers, and its communities. Why? Because in the 21st century, long-term profit is completely tied to a company's real-world impact.
And his approach to climate change is the perfect example. He doesn't just frame decarbonization as an environmental issue. He calls it one of the biggest financial opportunities of our lifetime. For Fink, ignoring a huge long-term risk like climate change, well, that isn't just socially irresponsible. It's a flat-out failure of your duty as an investor.
But, as you can probably guess, taking such a powerful stance on how corporations should behave threw Fink and BlackRock right into the middle of a massive political firestorm.
So on the political right, critics started calling him the poster child for woke capital. Their argument is basically that he's using BlackRock's financial power to push a progressive social and environmental agenda on companies.
something that goes way beyond his job of just making money for investors.
But at the exact same time, he was getting hammered from the political left. Activists will point out that, hey, while Fink is talking a big game about climate change, BlackRock is still one of the world's biggest investors in fossil fuel companies. They call it ESG hypocrisy, basically saying his actions don't match his powerful words.
Through all this controversy, though, Fink's thinking just keeps evolving. And there's no clearer example of this than his complete 180 on the future of money itself, specifically on cryptocurrency. Just take a look at this. Back in 2017, he completely dismissed Bitcoin, calling it an index of money laundering. Fast forward to 2023, and his tune has totally changed. Now he calls it an asset of fear, a kind of digital hedge people run to when they lose faith in the old systems, kind of like gold. And this change of heart led BlackRock to launch one of the most successful Bitcoin ETFs in the world.
But for Fink, Bitcoin is really just the tip of the iceberg. His real vision is for something called tokenization. It's the idea that pretty much any asset you can think of, a share of stock, a bond, a piece of real estate, can be turned into a digital token that lives on a blockchain. Fink thinks this is going to be a total revolution. Why? Because it could create financial markets that are way faster, way cheaper, and never, ever close. Imagine being able to buy a tiny fraction of a skyscraper as easily as you buy a stock today, and the whole deal settles in seconds, not weeks. I mean, this could unlock trillions of dollars in value and totally change how money moves around the planet.
Which kind of brings us back to his core belief system. From his early days creating brand new markets to his current vision for a tokenized future, Fink's whole career has been driven by this deep belief in the power of markets to literally transform our world. As he says, investing is how we turn our hopes into our reality. And that leaves us with one last massive question. When you look at his story, the rise, the fall, and the incredible comeback, Larry Fink has built a financial machine with the power to influence everything, from what companies do to the very structure of our economy. So when one company, and really one man, has that much power to shape our reality, it forces all of us to ask, who gets to decide what future we're all hoping for?